And so the next agenda that we're on, we're on the staff meeting agenda, and so the next topic going into, we've already talked about pre-vet. Now we're talking about the personal statistics and goals. So that's what we want to make sure we want to be evaluating. And so here's a couple main points that we want to be paying attention to. Is first of all, now I do cover goals and motivation and things like that separately, but you do want an office goal, but there's some basic rules. Is you never bonus for group goals, and it's because of the diffusive responsibility factor. Once there's two or more people that are responsible for something, that's when they both let down their guard, because now they're not personally responsible. That's just a human nature thing. And so you never bonus for group goals. What you do is for group goals, just give awards. That's all. You just give awards. That's it. There's no bonus involved with that. And typical office goals are like production, collection, and new patients. Those are really common office goals. And so, but I just got to tell you, the only person that's really going to be driving that for the most part is the doctor, because of the diffusive responsibility. Unless when you have your marketing assistant, et cetera, and now you have somebody whose primary responsibility is the new patient category. So that's when the majority of the effort is taken off the doctor and it's kind of moved to the staff member. And of course, that's where training has to take place. And mainly what we're talking about now is the in-office, the 6 in-office promotions. So that's what you want to do with goals. And then when we look at, let's go to the second category here of goals, but you always want to look at goals. So I never put much emphasis on group goals, like total production, total collection, total new patients. I never, it was okay, and I gave awards for that, monthly awards for that. But I never put much emphasis on that, because individually, no one person individually could really run with it with group goals. So it's not very effective. What is effective is the individual, and that's what you want to pay a lot of attention to. And you always you connect the bonuses to the individual, and you always connect the bonus to what's called the primary statistic. So whatever you want to change is what you connect a bonus to and consequences to. And that's what changes. That's what gets change to happen. So, and when you do give a bonus, you prefer to have it tied to what's called the primary or secondary motivation. If something is of primary, or say a primary motivator, and you tie the bonus to it, that creates a tremendous amount of natural drive. An example would would be, let's say paying for the electric bill. Helping, say they tie your bonus to help the staff member pay their electric bill. Now, paying an electric bill is a survival mechanism, okay? Or even a car payment or a house payment, or those are primary. Those are things that have to be done. A grocery bill payment, gas for the month, those things have to be paid. Those are called primary motivators. And so we always like to each staff member has their own primary responsibility. That's the number one priority and why they were hired. And that's the statistic that's kept. And then that's what's bonused. And then we'd like to tie the bonus to something that helps them in a great way, in a very big way. And just the opposite of that would be like a pleasure bonus, let's say a cruise. Well, there's a lot of people that are excited about a cruise, and they'll talk about the cruise, but they won't do very much to go get the cruise because they don't need the cruise. In other words, their life will not change one bit if they don't get that cruise. Well, you want to connect bonuses to things that their life will change, and that's the change for the negative if it's not done. In other words, you don't pay your electric bill. Well, a lot of negative things happen. You don't pay your car payment. A lot of negative things happen. And that's how you'll get the most That's when you connect the primary responsibility to the bonus, and the bonus to help support a primary need. And by the way, you always want to check that, because it tells us three things. When we evaluate the primary statistic for the bonus, it's going to tell us three things. Number one, are they excelling in their job? Remember that we pay salary to do X, Y, Z in a job. When they do above average, they get a bonus for that. And so it's recognition, appreciation, and approval, and we want to give the bonuses out in the staff meetings. But the point that I'm trying to make here is I just lost my train of thought for a second here. The individual staff bonus. So we take the primary responsibility of that particular job, tie it to a bonus, and so we're talking about the three factors that you're always going to evaluate with the primary responsibility. Number one, do they get a bonus? Number two, is the primary function getting done at least average? At least average. Even if they're not getting a bonus, is it done average? Number three, is it either not being done, or is it below average? Do they need training? Does there need to be training? Okay? And then the last part of the equation is if you have somebody that can't be trained. And remember, there are certain people that naturally don't have the ability to do some things. Some people with low confrontation cannot do high confrontation things, or they can only when they're in survival, but as soon as they're out of survival, they can't do them. It's too difficult. And so you may have the wrong person in the wrong role, and that happens a lot. So, but the thing you want to look at with the bonuses is we're going to look at their primary responsibility. Did they do it? Number one, was it above average to get a bonus? Cut them the check. And that's what you want. You want to be giving bonus checks every month. Every month, because you want your staff and you want to help your staff do above average. And we like giving big bonus checks. When we give big bonus checks, that means they're performing at a very high level. In other words, they're taking a lot of stress off you, the doctor. So we look at their primary responsibility, tie the bonus to it. Second factor is it average? And then if it's not average, we got to make a determination. Go, okay, wait a minute. Do we need training, or we've done enough training? You know, we've tried to train this in 5, 6, 7 times, and the person just can't do it. Now they have to be relocated. So, and believe me, when people can't do something, the best thing for them that they often like is they'd rather be in a job that they can naturally do. Everybody would rather succeed than not succeed in life. And that's the three factors you got to look at. Do they get a bonus? Is it average? Or do they need significant? Does this need to be trained? And that's what will always happen with what's called the primary responsibilities. Every staff member will have what's called primary responsibilities, comes to the table, we know what that stat is, and then that's exactly the three factors we're going to look at with that stat. Bonus, they're doing average, or they need training. Now, I would never have known that if I don't keep stats and I don't review the stats at staff meetings. I would never know any of this stuff. And you just have to remember, every time you don't evaluate something, it's always getting worse. That's called the law of entropy. Things do not naturally go into organization. They naturally go into disarray. So every time you don't do staff meetings, every time you don't look at things, every time you don't evaluate things, you can be guaranteed they're getting worse. One of the things that always concerned me is every now and then I'd miss a staff meeting because I'd be out of town. Maybe I was on vacation. Maybe I was out of town giving a seminar or a lecture. And which, if I went 1 week, I'm okay. But if that accidentally happened 2 weeks in a row, I was like, oh my God, because I know what I was getting back to 3 weeks later. And it was not going to be above average. I knew everything was going to start to slip because that's natural. Entropy is natural. Disarray is normal. And so I already knew in my mind, I already knew if I didn't show up at those meetings, I already knew things were going down.